Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Thursday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, a call today across Montana from health officials and business leaders to keep our state healthy and open. Tonight, another big jump in coronavirus numbers, a push for all Montana people to wear masks, and two different plans to help school districts open their doors this fall. Well, this as state health experts report another 67 confirmed COVID-19 cases today. Yellowstone County reports the largest increase with 14, then Missoula County with 10, and Richland and Gallatin County with 6. Now, all of the cases in Gallatin County and most of the cases in Yellowstone County are between the ages of 20 and 29. Well, as Montana hit another one-day record, Governor Bullock says the worst may not be over and that high numbers will continue in the coming days and weeks. But he and a top business official also say Montanans can still act to slow the virus, and a big part of that effort is by wearing masks in public. Bullock says he's worried that Montanans are letting their guard down. He says 6 weddings and the related gatherings have led to at least 24 cases and impacted 2 other states. The governor says people need to avoid large gatherings. If they are around other people, wear face masks. When asked why he's not requiring masks in public places, Bullock says he'd like it to become a socially accepted necessity rather than a rule. Now, toward that end, the president of the Montana Chamber of Commerce also called on people to wear face masks in public. Todd O'Hare says the business community doesn't want Montana to follow in the footsteps of other states where businesses are shutting down again.
Government grants, low-interest loans, business bailout dollars cannot compare to healthy economic activity. Businesses will not be able to survive in Montana without a healthy economic activity in the state. And healthy economic activity is founded on a healthy population.
We don't have to be like these other states and take steps backwards if we again raise our guard. And one of the most important ways we can raise that guard is to make wearing a mask a habit and normalized.
Now, Bullock says he's still hopeful Montana can keep its number of cases from increasing greatly or even decline in the not too distant future. Well, the Billings Chamber of Commerce and Big Sky Economic Development also joining forces to encourage people to wear masks in public, not just for your health, but for the health of the local economy as well.
Our goal throughout this whole pandemic has been to get the economy back to 100% and our businesses back up and operational safely. And we don't want to see any slide backwards. So issuing this joint statement to encourage our community, our businesses, employees to stay healthy and to keep others healthy by doing a simple task of wearing the mask when out in public.
We want to be a participant in a solution that helps our businesses stay open, maintaining distance, washing your hands. If you're ill, you stay home, you don't engage, or if you're out in public and you can't stay at this, wear a mask. It's just part of that adaptation, and our business community has been leaders in that space, and now the rest of us need to rally behind them so they can keep their doors open.
Now, in a recent Billings Chamber survey, 47% said they feel more safe in a store where employees are wearing masks. That number jumps to 52% if the business is a restaurant. Well, also addressed at today's news conference, the reopening of schools across Montana. Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney announced the governor's guidance plan to send students back to class. What that will look like depends a lot upon the individual district and where the state is in its reopening plan at that time. Now, Cooney talked about accommodations for at-risk students and remote learning and says opening the schools is a priority.
Governor Bullock and I know our schools are the foundation in which future leaders of Montana are made, and we know that in-person teaching serves a critical role in the lives of students and their families. For many children, school is the best place to be. In a time of endless unknowns and constant flux, schools can provide structure and familiarity.
Now, Cooney says school districts will be expected to consult with local health officials and take every single safety measure recommended by the Centers for Disease Control. Well, what school will actually look like this fall is on the minds of many parents and students after students ended last school year stuck learning from home. Q2's Russ Riesinger talked with the superintendent of Montana's largest school district today to get his reaction to the governor's plan and joins us now from the newsroom. Russ.
Well, Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham says the risk versus reward will have to be taken into consideration, but he says that direct instruction is very important. They want to get back to that. He says some students did well with the online learning, but a lot of others did not.
We forget as a society that we're more than an education, that we do provide safety, food, belongings for students.
And those are just some of the reasons why Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham wants the district's 17,000 students back in the classroom at the end of the summer. But with coronavirus cases rising in the state, there's also reason for concern.
Coming back to school is going to have some risk, and we have to accept that risk. We as school officials have to mitigate the risk and enforce the safety to the best of our ability.
Some of the recommendations in the governor's reopening plan include procedures for cleaning, mask guidelines, monitoring students for possible illness, and methods to limit the number of individuals in classrooms and learning spaces. Upham admits that with so many students, it will be a challenge to socially distance.
We can do some things to help. But at the end of the day, we're going to be in direct instruction, and there will be students that are in proximity of each other. There'll be proximity to the teachers. We'll limit the people coming in and out of schools, especially at the beginning. We will try to create communities within schools that that interact with each other and not others to the best of our ability.
School districts are advised to reopen under a health and safety plan developed with local public health officials.
There's plenty of time to slow this down and be ready for school. We just need to change our behavior to get that prevention activity happening as a natural course of activity.
I'm hoping that the virus will settle itself because as it increases, it creates more issues for us in education, and we just know how important it is to get back to school.
And if you want to look at the governor's reopening plan for schools in Montana, you can find it in its entirety on KTVQ.com. School is set to get underway August 24th here in Billings. Jeanelle?
All right. Thanks so much, Russ. Well, as the governor's office released its set of guidelines for Montana public schools, so did the state superintendent of public instruction. And she's not exactly happy about the double set of plans. Early Thursday afternoon, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arntzen, a Republican, released a 40-page set of guidelines on how schools may reopen this fall. Within the hour, however, Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney unveiled that separate set of reopening recommendations. Arntzen told MTN News she spoke with Cooney 3 weeks ago and told him that officials should have a unified plan. She says the governor's office going ahead on its own is a poor way of doing government. However, she says she'll include the governor's recommendations with information that she sends out to school districts this summer. Governor Bullock says since he had given the directive to close schools in March, he thought it was important for his office to issue guidelines on reopening. Well, both documents are a list of recommendations that school districts can choose to follow as they decide how and whether to reopen in the fall. Well, Independence Day weekend is usually one of the busiest travel weekends in the nation, but despite this year's pandemic, people are still traveling. AAA reports summer travel this year will be down almost 15% from last year. This includes travel not just by car, but by bus, rail, and cruise ship. But summer road trips are still strong in the U.S. AAA predicts road trips to destinations both near and far will only be down about 3% from last year. Overall, it is expected that Americans will take 683 million road trips this summer. No doubt a few of those will make their way here to Montana to our many parks, mountains, and forests. While traveling by car, we'll only see a slight decrease. Air travel nationwide, of course, is well below normal. At both Billings and Bozeman airports, there has been a large decline in passenger numbers. In Billings last June, the average daily number of people boarding a plane was nearly 1,500. And while numbers are still being compiled for June, airport officials think the daily average will work out to be somewhere around 460 passengers a day, almost 31% below normal. Overall, both Billings and Bozeman airports estimate this summer passenger numbers will be down about 50%. Well, historically, July and August are the deadliest months on Montana roads. In 2019, nearly 50 people lost their lives in Montana crashes. during just those 2 months alone. MTN's Phoenix O'Connor looked into what people hitting the highway can do to stay safe this summer.
It's 4th of July weekend. I understand you might be thinking about getting out of town. One of the most popular choices is hitting the roadways on a good old-fashioned road trip. So here's just some safety reminders on how to stay safe on the roadways.
Right now we're sitting at 85 fatalities in the state of Montana just now. That's 10% over where we were last year. That's a huge increase. We look at those 4 days of the 4th of July, we average over 130 crashes, 4 fatalities, upwards of 35 DUIs that'll occur across the state in those 4 days.
Of course, with the 4th of July week coming up, we're right in the middle of that. And the top 3 contributing factors to fatalities and serious injuries and crashes in Montana are consistently impaired driving, lack of seatbelts, and vehicles leaving the road.
As I always tell everybody, it's the cheapest life insurance you'll ever get by just clicking that seatbelt.
MHP troopers will also be looking out for speeders on the highway.
Montana's a great place to live. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Slow down and enjoy.
Consistently, impaired driving is involved in about 60% of the fatal crashes.
If you do happen to see someone driving that you may think is impaired, call 911.
Give the description of the vehicle. If they can get a license plate, never put yourself in danger, meaning if someone is traveling in an erratic manner, don't try to copy them and follow them where they're going.
And if you do happen to have a little too many drinks,
car at the bar, don't drink and drive. Don't endanger yourself or others.
using a rideshare companies is another option, or ask your bartender if the bar participates in a home-free program. In Helena, Phoenix O'Connor, MTN News.
Please be safe, everyone, and have a good weekend. Well, tonight we are learning new data showing the rate of child fatalities in Montana last year. In 2019, 17 children known to Montana's child welfare system died. An additional 7 children who were not known also died. This is according to Montana's Department of Health and Human Services. For children known to CPS, the leading cause of death were unsafe sleep, a medical condition, and abuse or neglect. For children unknown to CPS, drowning and abuse or neglect were the leading causes of death. In order to help prevent similar deaths, state leaders have distributed safe sleep cribs and are working with Fish, Wildlife and Parks to provide life jackets at popular swim areas. The Department of Public Health and Human Services Deputy Director Laura Smith says when it comes to water, always make sure someone, or you, is watching your child.
Really encourage families, caregivers, babysitters to be emptying sources of water in the home immediately after use. That includes bathtubs, wading pools, and any freestanding water.
Now, the state encourages people to report cases of child abuse or neglect. The toll-free Montana Abuse and Neglect hotline is 1-866-820-5437. Well, with the 4th of July just 2 days away, people are gearing up for their fireworks shows. Harvest Church in Billings will shoot off its display this year in the upper parking lot of Metro Park, as we've told you. Now, Laurel's annual show will go on, but at an undisclosed location this year. According to the Laurel Chamber of Commerce, the show will still be visible to everyone in the community. Now, Red Lodge will launch fireworks from the East Bench. Broadway will be shut down earlier in the day and convert the street into a walking mall for social distancing purposes. Miles City will launch its fireworks from the natural Oasis Beach as in years past. Now, all fireworks shows begin around dusk. Well, there is a new animal making his way to Zoo Montana, but he is going very, very slowly. It's an 18-month-old male two-toed sloth. Now, this slow but steady traveler only goes about 41 yards per day, so he is not expected here in Billings till late this summer. He also does not yet have a name, but he has an Instagram account where you can follow his leisurely journey to the zoo. For a link to his Instagram, log on to KTVQ.com. Pretty darn cute. Still ahead on tonight's 5:30 news, the sound of wedding bells is ringing a bit differently this year with the pandemic. How couples are preparing to say I do. And in sports, who knows if Pro Rodeo will see a national finals this year? That makes Cowboy Christmas even more critical. Casey joins us from the Cody Stampede.
And coming up in weather, we're starting to see a few showers and thunderstorms develop in north central Wyoming, but will they be coming here? We'll have the answer coming up in a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.